I'd like to call our September 21st, 2022 Land and Facilities Management Committee meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Mr. Plaisance. Here. Mr. Bernard.
Here.
Ms. Bourgeois.
Here.
Mr. Buttery.
Here.
Mr. LaFont. Mr. Swiss. Ms. Thomas.
Here.
No form.
You. Number 2, we have Rose Flores Positary. We have Mr. Andy Positary here. To receive a report on the new Thibodeau Middle School project. Mr. Positary.
All right, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Try to be pretty quick tonight. I know your night's getting long. Thibodeau Middle School, we currently are at,
As usual, Gwen Bales or something.
the current contract sum is $28,600,773. That's a little increase from a change order that we had last month. Out of that amount, the contractor has completed a little over $15 million worth of work, or about 53% of the contract sum. A quick review of the contract time. There's a total of 1,120 days in the contract, and we're a little over 40% of the way through that time. So from a scheduling standpoint, everything still seems to be going pretty smoothly. Pertinent project issues, a lot of metal studs going up, a lot of CMU, and a whole lot of HVAC, electrical, plumbing, sprinkler piping. So there's a whole lot of activity on site. It's all happening inside right now. We're doing waterproofing. If you pass lately and saw that gold colored stuff on the wall, that is an air and vapor barrier that they're putting around the whole envelope of the building. They put some additional roofing on areas B and C and over the second floor, the 2-story element. And they did pour a little small amount of concrete at the front entrance of the school last week. So again, the next few weeks are going to be a lot of the same report. They're going to continue with a lot of that type of work. We have one change order request, but I know that's a separate item down on the agenda.
Anyone have any questions? Mr. Positary. Okay, thank you. Move on to D, to receive a report on the new Thibodeau Middle School BCA HVAC replacement. Positary.
All right, thank you again. This is going to be the last report for this particular project. Again, this was kind of a spin-off project for replacing some air conditioning at BCA. That work has been done. We signed the substantial completion forms at yesterday's middle school meeting. The contractor has a punch list that he's working on that's $14,775 worth of work. Most of that is some equipment that was delayed in shipment, some AC equipment that was delayed. That equipment is serving some storage rooms, so it's not affecting the critical function of the school. So we'll continue to monitor the completion of the punch list stuff with Evan, but this will be my last report for this project.
Anyone have any questions on item B? Okay, move on to C. To consider a change order request for 21 additional days to the contract due to inclement weather for the month of August 2022 and take appropriate action. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Again, now this change order request for rain days is for the middle school part. So again, this was rain from August. Again, if you stuck your head out in the last 30 days, you probably got wet. So this again is following the contract documents, the requirements of the contract documents. We've reviewed those days. We feel that it is appropriate for add to the time.
Make sure we add in the Thibodeau Middle School project. So, but I just said make sure we add the new Thibodeau Middle School project into this item to see if we have to vote on. So, we have a motion by Ms. Bourgeois, seconded by Mr. Bernard. This change order is for 21 days to the new Thibodeau Middle School project.
The recommended action would be to accept the change order request in amount of 21 days to the contract due to inclement weather in the month of August 2022 at the 2 new Thibodeau Middle School. Let's say that in there. Huh?
Yes. That's very good. All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any public discussion? Board discussion?
I just want to say, Mr. Foster, you got off easy the last 2 months because Mr. LaFawn is not here again.
I was gonna bring that up.
I was thinking, but I wasn't gonna say it.
We keep him informed and he's okay with it.
Okay, good, good.
Mr. LaFawn is presently in Italy, but I did receive a phone call to report any additional days. He will be receiving that call.
Very good.
I think if anyone works outside, they could agree that 21 days are warranted in this case in August. So very normal for our August. But thank you, Mr. Palateri. If there's any more comment, we'll go ahead and vote. Motion carries unanimous.
Thank you.
Mr. Palateri.
Again.
3, Goslin, Holloway, Cortez, we have Mr. David Gobert here. A, receiver report from Mr. David Gobert on the Phase 6 safety project. Gobert.
Good evening. This report is just for informational purposes tonight. By Blue Middle School, the portion is 95% complete. You'll see a pattern at all of these sites. They're being delayed for the exact same reasons. They're having a delay in receiving the bulletproof wood doors. They have already received the bulletproof glazing, but they want to install it all together so that they don't damage anything that's been installed, because that glass is very, very expensive. The hardware for the gates is delayed. It will not be delivered until late October, early November. And the HVAC, they're waiting to do that while they're installing everything. They'll do all the interior so that they don't interrupt the staff at those entrances to the building. So they are making progress. Like I said, Bayou Blue is 95% complete. 6th Ward is 75% complete. And the Rose Cutoff School is 70% complete. And again, those percentages are from 2 weeks ago. So they are making progress. They are delayed with similar items at each site. And it's just specialized, long lead time item. Once they receive the materials, they'll install them. Right now, they're projecting that they will complete the project within the time that was in the contract. If they feel that they're getting to a point where they don't have commitments from their providers and that it would affect that finish date, they'll let us know, and they're keeping track of their orders and the dates so that they can request additional time because those would be delays that are beyond their control.
Anyone have any questions? Mr. Gobert? Okay. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
4, Jeremy and Bruce. Okay. A, to receive report from Mr. Evan Plazons on Part 1, HVAC renovations at Golden Meadow Lower Elementary School. Mr. Plazons.
Yes, Mr. Bruce, sends his apologies, but he couldn't make it tonight, so he asked me to kind of fill in for him real quickly. Just like you've heard before, a lot of material delays. So basically what Daniel wanted me to indicate was HVAC equipment has been ordered. Lead time is anticipated at 16 to 24 weeks. Project is on hold until the material has been delivered. That's pretty much everywhere.
Does anyone have any questions on item C? Mr. Plazons. Okay. We'll move on to 5, All South. We have Mr. Bob Menard. A, to receive a report from All South Consulting on Hurricane Ida damages. Mr. Menard.
Thank you, and good evening. So on the construction, the list continues to grow. We had 2 bids last week, which Mr. Plazons will be discussing. Good participation. Again, one project, we had 7 bidders. The other, I think it was 5. So You know, at the beginning of the year, we're concerned about what was going to happen with the results that we were getting. If you remember, 1 and none, but that has changed. So good news on that. Cost seems to have settled down some, but it's still trending over budget as far as the costs that are coming in. But the numbers are right there. So that's all good news, good to report. Just kind of a scorecard right now. We have 14 separate contracts out, which includes about 20 sites. We still have approximately 18 bids left. So we're not quite at the halfway point, but in a month we should be. Of those 18 bids, you're looking at about another 27 sites. So that's kind of where we are right now, about the halfway mark. And it's going to get busy. Any questions on any of the contracts under construction? Major projects, I guess South Lafourche High School, good news on the auxiliary gym. They seem to be on schedule, maybe a little ahead of schedule of completing the wood floors. So that was scheduled to be turned over on November 1st. It looks like they might beat that date. So they're sanding floors right now, and so that's a good sign they're ahead of schedule. They started the work on the decking for the competition gym. So good weather, obviously, so now's a good time to do it. In fact, this time of year tends to be the best for weather-wise. So we've got a lot of roof projects starting. So hopefully we'll get good weather and we can get that accomplished.
Yeah, dealing with South Lafourche, I drive by there. What is the purpose? They have this big orange tubing or pipe or whatever. What is that? Is that for water? Is that for gas? Are you familiar with that? Is that the big, very big? It's rolled up and they were pushing it out. Any idea what that might be at South Lafourche?
That may be gas line. They're putting
maybe a gas line.
Gas line.
Yeah, we a couple of people had asked me about it. I had no idea. I thought.
Is that associated with the school
Yes.
or with one of the gas companies?
There's
We're
a
not
siphon
installing
project
any
that's gonna
gas
be
lines.
running right there too, that the levy district and the parish on.
Well, that could be it.
Yeah.
When I went by this afternoon or this morning after being forced to play golf again, I noticed in the tubing wires coming out. So I'm thinking it might be something to do with some sort of fiber optic type whatever's going on. But it looks like there was wires coming out of that thing. I'm thinking it's more something to do with internet lines, telephone lines, whatever, something along that line.
Continuing with South Lafourche, ROTC and cheer, both of those are likely to be 50%. So there's a lot of paperwork with the FEMA process we have to go through. Those have been pushed until sometime next year to give that process time to run its course. In fact, we will be using the chair building for storage of LVT. I think we talked about that. So we're going to need that building up at least until we finish the permanent repairs at the main high school to house it that floor. Go to middle, similar to ROTC and cheer. This is under review, building 3, the annex classroom building. Again, we spoke about this, long process with FEMA. So we want to do the vetting, see what we can get on this before we move forward with any design. That too has been pushed to spring of next year. Temporary campus at Old Chagbay, we're wrapping that up, very close to finishing the 4 classroom building, the old building. We were there this past week looks really good. They're going to finish that up by the end of the month, so students can start using that space here within the next 2 weeks or so. Then HVAC replacement in building 1, which is the old building, cafeteria and kitchen. That work is going to be starting up in about 4 or so weeks. Bayou Buff Elementary, similar to Golden Meadow and ROTC and cheer. That too is under review by FEMA, and we're looking at options on what we're going to do with that particular campus. Graceland Upper, designer is supposed to turn in a package to us by next week with some owner wish list items, some mitigation items on the FEMA side. Something we're going to present to the superintendent and eventually, I'm sure, to the board if things look right on upgrades to Graceland Upper. In St. Charles Elementary, we got the final cost estimates in for the temporary campus. I've not looked at them yet. We got them today. So that's going up to FEMA also. Again, we got to get blessing from them on temporary campuses. So we're going to start that process rolling. And again, that project will be delayed until after the first of the year. Any questions on any of the projects? Maybe projects?
On Bayou Buck Elementary, has it been determined where are we going with that? Has FEMA decided if it's over 50% or under, or do we renovate or do we have to rebuild?
Good question. So it's probably going to be under 50%. All right, we vetted that far enough to where we're just under 50, and anything close to 50 is probably a losing battle with FEMA, right? You want to be 55 above, and because they're going to find something to pick, and it becomes a fight, to be honest. So there are other options we're exploring with that campus. Substantially damaged is one, possibly. That would put that into a different category. That FEMA typically acknowledges involves mitigation, and that too has a lot of moving parts. So we have a meeting, in fact, this Friday with the team to discuss that, meet with the designer and look at different options so we can present to Mr. Horton.
But I'd like to, if you could just expand on that for a second, because I think that I understand what you said, but I've been involved in a lot of meetings. I want to make sure this committee understands what's going on. If the parish deems that it is such substantially damaged that you now have to put the building up to today's code, is what he's saying, then you then have to do everything, including bring it up to the proper elevation, bring it up to the proper wind loads, bring it up to the proper ADA codes. So what happens if we get the green light to say that this building is such substantially damaged that it now has to be brought up to the parish codes? We have the ability to build ostensibly a new school in that spot on that footprint, and it would be FEMA reimbursed. That's why he's talking about the substantial damage, because the parish local codes play a role in this.
Parish government.
Yes, sir. If the parish government plays a role in this by saying, look, I don't care if FEMA says it's not 50% damaged or not, we deem that to be substantially damaged. So we're going to enforce upon you the requirement to build it back to code. Then we tell Mr. Depository, okay, we just got our hands tied. We use that documentation to submit to FEMA as justification as to why we have to build it up to this new modern standard. But it benefits the community because we get a building that is both built to code and has the mitigation in place to withstand the next storm. So it's a complicated process. I'm glad we've got the All South team navigating this, but Mr. Depository, who's listening, he understands where we are, and he's in a holding pattern for design because of that.
And
Did I misspeak?
No, just to be clear on a couple of things in regards to that. It's not a new campus, right? It's only the buildings that were damaged.
Right.
That's
Thank you for
important.
clarifying.
Yeah. Which is building 1, 2, and 3. We're going to bring 3 into it. 1 is the admin, 2 is kitchen cafeteria, 3 is a 2 classroom building next to that, and then 8A and 8B, which is a classroom annex. Were flooded and damaged, and they had we're going to say possibly substantially damaged. Now, what comes with that is a lot of paperwork, a lot of back and forth with FEMA, because they want to know what's the least cost to bring that up to code. Do you put a flood wall around it and then repair it in its current state? That's one way to do it. Do you jack up the whole building and elevate it and not tear it down? So we have to go through the process of showing them what's the least cost to do what needs to be done. So that's what the meetings are going to be about, to determine that, and it goes back and forth with FEMA until you get a green light and determinations made. Okay? Any other questions?
Whatever.
All right, one last thing real quick. The schedule is attached to your agenda this month. Just one quick thing about the schedule. We talked about this. It's a living document. I already have one change on it, which is ROTC shows the demo this year in in the fall, but it's been pushed back. The green line, if you find the green line, anything to the right, you can kind of see the graph. It's broken down by school, by architect, by school. I should have a cheat sheet that lists all the schools in alphabetical order with the architect next to it. So you can find the school, find the architect, and then each page has the designer on it with the school projects that he's responsible for. So you can use that line, that green line, that vertical line to determine what projects have started and which ones will be kicking off. So just good information for projects where they are in the lineup. Okay. There are no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you. We move on to 6, new business. 8, consider a request from St. Mary's Nativity School to waive rental fees for the use of Raceland Middle School gym for the school volleyball and basketball practices. Delilah is here to speak on behalf of St. Mary's.
Our principal, Miss Linda Henry, apologizes for not being able to make it tonight. She became ill, so we didn't want her here. But we're here just to ask and represent St. Mary's to ask that you do waive the rental fees as you have done in the past. We've always used the facilities to practice basketball and volleyball, and we work very closely with the administration and their athletic director to plan schedules and workout games, and it's so our children can enjoy these sports that we brought back to the school. So we ask you kindly to please consider that for us.
Thank you. We need a motion. I have a motion by Mr. Benoit, second by Mr. Buda. Do you have any public comment? Any board comment? Okay. We'll go ahead and vote. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. E, consider a change order request for LCO Middle School to remove and replace all existing metal covered wood fascia on the kitchen cafeteria building, building 3, replaced with new flush metal panels, plywood subframing. Contract proposes these changes at a cost of $10,367 and to add 10 additional days to the contract for these changes.
No?
That's enough.
All right. After reviewing this with the architect and the contractor, everything seems to be in order. So the recommended action would be to accept the change order for LCO Middle School to remove and replace all existing metal covered wood fascia on the cafeteria, on the kitchen cafeteria building, building number 3, and replace with new flush metal panel and plywood subframing. The contract proposes these changes at a cost of $10,367 and add 10 additional days to the contract for these changes.
Motion by Mr. Boudery, second by Ms. Boudreaux. Is there any public comment? Is there any board comment? If not, we'll vote. Motion carries unanimously. C, consider a change order request for 22 additional days due to delay in delivery of the DINS deck material at South Lafourche High School.
There again, material delays on top of delays. So the recommended action after reviewing this with the architect and the contractor is to accept the change order for 22 additional days due to delay in deliveries of DINS deck material at South Lafourche High School.
Motion by Ms. Bourgeois, seconded by Mr. Boudery. Is there any public comment? Is there any board comment? I think this is gonna be a continuation, job after job, bid after bid. It's gonna be very normal, especially for specified, materials. So, all right, if there's no other comment, we'll go ahead and vote. Motion carries unanimously. D, to receive bids for Hurricane Ida repairs to North LaRose Elementary School. Please.
All right, as Bob mentioned earlier, on 9/15/2022, we opened bids up for the repairs at the North Rose Elementary School. We had, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bids, and the low bidder, responsible bidder was Tosh LLC. So the recommended action would be to accept the low bid from Tosh LLC in the amount of $1,380,000 for the Hurricane Ida repairs to North Rose Elementary School.
Ms. Plaisance? Motion by Mr. Bernard, seconded by Mr. Booter. Is there any public comment? Any board comment?
Nice to see the bids, close together. Or
Well, some of it was, you really look at them, there was about a $200,000 difference between low and second.
But there were bids.
There were a lot of bids.
Yes, that they were.
I mean, impressive that we have 7 bids and all within a $200,000 range. And right at or under budget, which is
Even better.
even better. Abnormal for our time, but thank you. So, we have a motion and a second. Anyone else? Any more comments from the board? If not, we'll go ahead and vote. Motion carries unanimously. E, to receive bids for Hurricane Ida permanent repairs to Golden Meadow Upper Street.
All right, there again, we opened bids up on September 19th, 2022. We had 5 bidders that submitted bids on this project. The low apparent bidder was Freetown at $786,000. Now, if you look at this one was $256,000 difference between the low and the second bid, and the rest of the bids were pretty much intact. But the contractor has elected to accept the bid and move on with it. So the recommended action would be to accept the low bid from Freetown Builders, a base bid in the amount of $786,000, alternate number 1 in the amount of $3,178, alternate number 2 in the amount of $33,705 for a total amount of $823,073 for the permanent repairs that go to Meadow Upper Elementary School.
That's a mouthful.
Huh?
That's a mouthful.
Yeah.
We need a motion. Motion by Ms. Bourgeois, seconded by Ms. Thomas. Is there any public comment? Board comment? Any comments? We'll go ahead and vote. Motion carried unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Plaisance.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Bernard, as well, for getting all this together, and there'll be plenty more to come, but we're showing some positive movement with bids coming in, so thank you so much. Yeah, to receive a report from lead accountant, Shasta Chess, with reference to ongoing project maintenance. Ms. Shasta.
For the 2017 construction bond, we had 2 projects that had invoices that we paid of $199,515 from August through September. And then for the 2021 construction bond, we had 2 projects again, with a total of $1,762,668 that we paid invoices from August through September.
Anyone have any questions for Ms. Chasson? All right, before we adjourn, I'd just like to say one thing. The town of Lockport, October 1st, is having a first annual pumpkin patch. Bring kids. There's gonna be, I think they have 25, 30 vendors for crafts. There's pumpkins. They got hay rides. So town of Lockport from 3 to 6.
Any duck carving?
There'll be one person.
Oh, okay.
I can't say
I
that.
wasn't sure about that.
All right, if there's anyone else, our meeting is adjourned.